The dawn of civilization. Primitive. Dangerous. Exciting. The handwriting is on the wall. If the human race is ever going to amount to anything, it needs
the most civilized caveman I have ever seen.
Look who's come out of his cave.
Hey everyone, this is James from Cave Dweller Music. I am joined by my co-host Brendan. Today we have a special episode, something we haven't done before. We basically have a portion of a whole label that's come on the show. It's a label that I've been following for a long time. They play a very unique style of music. You may have heard it, you may not have. It's called Witch House. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This is Blvsphemy Records, and welcome to our show, everyone.
Thanks for having us. This is Satanic Hispanic, founder of Blvsphemy Records. Just want to thank you both for having us on.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys play something that's so unique that I really feel like it needs as much attention brought to it as possible.
Thanks. And even within that strange subgenre, I have to say I'm really happy with the folks on the label as far as the direction that they take Witch House, and it's really unique, especially to each artist, right? Just so many artists out there that kind of sound like copycats of one another, but the folks here on Blvsphemy definitely bring a really unique sound.
I completely agree. I think I tell people when they ask about you, or if I mention the label, that you guys are a tastemaker label.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, no problem. It's true. It's true. So for anyone listening at home, do you want to just tell, maybe we'll just go through one at a time and say what your projects are called, and I guess describe what your sound, what would you say you play? And
I could just wrap up, since I just did my own intro, right? Satanic Hispanic again. And then you all can kick in. Actually, we are going to be joined by another person from the label. Right. But I'll continue on my introduction. So as far as the kind of witch house that I produce is definitely very industrial influenced and black metal influence, and so that all kind of goes into what I start with as far as the instrumentation, what type of accents I use, what type of changes that I put in there, and ultimately trying to keep a very dark and menacing kind of vibe overall. So, you'll notice the BPM, it kind of sounds sluggish, but at the same time, it's moving, powerful. So that's just got me into it. Who wants to go next?
Just one real quick thing. I actually realized we should have done this at the very start. For anyone who doesn't know what Witch House is, how would you describe the genre, just so people know what we're talking about here?
Okay, that's a hotly contended topic. It's like asking me to define what
Take it away, Joel.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna have to pull up Wikipedia. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's the worst one. Do it anyway, but that is the worst definition. But please,
very ritualistic.
All right, according to this, Witch House is a microgenre of electronic music that is musically characterized by high-pitched keyboard effects, heavily layered bass lines, and trap-style drum loops, while aesthetically employs occult and gothic-inspired themes. I would say that's more or less that makes sense.
Sure.
Any objections?
they changed it.
So that's fair. That's a fair.
It's certainly expanding. So it's hard to give it a label when things are expanding, still staying within the subgenre.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's like looking at black metal and saying, what does black metal sound like? Because it's come so far with all the caveats within it and different styles. You can't really give a simple answer to that. I mean, there's some broad statements you can make, but you're generalizing.
Exactly. So now that we have the definition of witch house out of the way, who wants to go next with introducing?
Yeah, I'm CULTCHILD. From out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert in Phoenix. Yeah. So my style of witch house is pretty. I don't know. I guess it bounces all over the place. Like I sometimes will throw in some traditional stuff that does sound like the Wikipedia definition, but I like to pump that volume up on everything. I like to add really heavy drums and stuff, and I also dip into another subgenre, adjacent genre called trash wave, which if you haven't heard of that, it's just heavy noise, sometimes rhythmic, but that has a weird definition. But I pull a lot of my influences from the music that I performed in the past. I come out of a New Jersey hardcore scene and metalcore scene, so I pull a lot of that stuff into my music and, puts out this CULTCHILD mess.
I'll go next. I go by Sain't. I've been from Chicago, Illinois, actually, with Joel over here. And what do you call it? My style of witch house is more like Euro house mixed with black metal, I believe, you know, kind of the screaming over the dancey beats. I used to be into like the ambient witch house when I first started. Then I kind of leaned more towards dance vibes because I got bored of just listening to the same old like samples of like monks and whatnot.
I'm gonna go, so I don't go last. Sorry, Eric.
No, you're good.
I kind of found Witch House at the same time as I was learning to produce electronically, and I was listening to a lot of Wardruna at the time.
Nice.
I don't know if you've ever like watched Vikings.
I've seen them live. They're fantastic.
Oh yes, they're fucking great. And I was really getting into like sort of pagan neo-folk stuff, but then at the same time I was listening to a lot of synthwave, and I kind of got darker and darker until I ran into Witch House and just immediately like felt a musical connection. So then I was learning to produce and kind of exploring this new genre, and I decided that my so Häxa is the Swedish word for witch.
Oh.
And conceptually it's like if witches existed 3,000 years in the future.
All right.
I like that.
Dope.
So it's very ambient, kind of spacey, definitely a little bit softer than probably what anyone else here is doing.
Okay, so I've been listening to Witch House since about 2010, I'd say, and that's probably my primary influence aside from like death metal and deathcore. I was really into all that back in like 2007, and that I'm just really into like the heaviness and everything about that. For me, I tried to lean more into the occult imagery and style, and more of the Memphis kind of trappy side of it. I try to lean into that and try to make nods to the classic style. Is more of what I'm about with my music. And I started producing in 2015. I honestly didn't sit down and start actually learning how to, I say, until about 2020, truth be told. Actually listening to the advice everyone was giving me, and that's when Joel reached out to me, and when I was in that phase, and ended up being a part of Blvsphemy Records and releasing my first EP, Death May Trivial, which was awesome for me because it kind of underscores me as a producer moving forward and progressing and learning how to make a cohesive sound. So I'm really excited with the new releases that I'm working on, and hope that everyone can see the classic appeal and everything that I have going on with all that. There's a lot of new stuff that I'm making callbacks to, and trying to bring back a lot of the sound and a lot of the aesthetic of Witch House that I believe has been forgotten and left behind.
Got it. That's awesome to hear. Now that we've sort of met everyone, Joel, do you want to just tell us a little bit about the label's history, how you founded this, and where it sort of was born from?
Yeah. So it actually happened. I don't remember if it was on the way to or on the way back from a gig with the Plagues. I did that in Kansas City, and so just for context, I'm based out of Chicago, and Plagues is based out of Milwaukee, and so we did this really cool out of town gig. Where we got to, name the event, and I thought that the name Blvsphemy was really cool, and so I spelled it out with the V and everything. The event was actually a really awesome success, but the name itself just stuck with me. And then now that I'm recalling it, I think it was on the drive back to Chicago, where I was just telling Plagues, I'm like, listen, I feel like what we want to release is a little bit more on the extreme side of things than what other labels out there want to do. At the time, we were both just independent artists. So we decided to come together with the crew, and the crew being myself, Plagues, and Sain't, since we were always doing gigs in the Chicago area, and just kind of put together our initial releases all together that way. So that was back in 2019. But if I can say what really predates Blvsphemy Records is bringing Witch House back to Chicago. If I can go down this rabbit hole for just a little bit. I think it was in 2017. I had the idea that I wanted to do a witch house night. I used to, promote industrial shows, and I figured let me give this witch house thing a try. The thing is that I was out of the promoting game for several years, and so I just started reaching out to people at random. Bill was one of the few people, or Saint was one of the few people that I reached out to, and he must have thought that I was just some rando, not even that serious, that saying, "Hey, I just want to start this witch house night." He ended up coming through. It was an awesome show. It made it into a local press, which was very interesting about bringing witch house back, and so that's kind of what started, this whole, I should say, witch house part of my life that has been consuming me since 2017 now, I think. But I digress.
I think it's important to, like, people will tell you it's unhealthy. I disagree completely, but if you find something you're this passionate about, to kind of throw everything you have into it. And I think most of us who create in some way or another understand that that's just part of the experience.
Yep. Hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're getting out of it what you're putting into it, 100%.
But it's good work. You like what you do. It's worth the time. It is. But I don't even know now. I'm just trying to look at a list kind of at the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's about 12, 13 of us on the label now. So that's why it's been a lot of work, kind of just managing and planning out all the releases, since everyone's just been churning out a lot of really good music. It's just a matter of getting it all out to everybody now.
A great way to do that is those samplers that you put out. We were a big fan of those on our site. It was Heretics Volume 3, the most recent one. Yep,
that's correct. The kickoff track is actually Saint's track. I really love that one. Actually, one of my favorite ones on the entire compilation. I think it just starts off strong that way. But we have everybody on the label there. Everybody is just fantastic. Saint, which song did you put on there again, if you can remind me?
Stigmata. It's about
Stigmata.
being possessed by Jesus Christ himself.
Interesting.
Should have went to Florida with that cure to leprosy.
Maybe one day.
Brendan, I know I've been talking a lot. I know you had a bunch of questions you wanted to ask.
Oh, well, I know, like, getting around and playing like live shows and whatnot. Have you guys had like any a favorite like venue or a place that you're just like, I always want to, set up my shows here? And yeah.
Great question. There are tons of venues in Chicago where we do the majority of our gigs. The one venue that we've been working with lately that I really enjoy partnering with is Liars Club in Chicago. But unique thing, going back to that story I mentioned a moment ago, when I started this whole witch house thing back in 2017, it was at this venue called Burlington. And just by coincidence, that's where Bill and I are going to be playing. Saints and I are going to be playing in about 10 days or so, if I'm not mistaken, 11 days. So,
August 24th.
Yep. So it's going to be good to be back at that venue. It's been a little while since we've been there. It's just it's a little sentimental, right? It's kind of what kicked off this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that's a venue I'm looking forward to playing just for that reason alone. As far as other venues across Chicago, I've been fortunate to be able to play in a variety of them, but I don't know. Maybe the Metro. That's always I think that's an awesome venue in Chicago if you're familiar with the area. It's a massive venue.
Aragon Ballroom.
Or the Aragon Ballroom, the Brawl Room as it's known. Yep. That's an awesome place. But yeah, hopefully soon we are going to be having a live Blvsphemy Records showcase. It's not going to be in Chicago. More information on that to be announced. So just shameless plug. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook, Blvsphemy Records, BLV, SPHEMY Records, for any updates regarding that.
How about like a favorite city?
Great question. Actually, LA is somewhere we want to branch out to. We have some people that are affiliated with the label that have some LA promoters that can help us out, and we're looking for the right time to do that. In about maybe 10 months, we're going to hit our 5-year anniversary. So definitely looking for a really unique place to put on something live, ideally with as many Blvsphemy Records artists as possible.
You already know.
I'm based down in San Diego, so I'm up in like San Diego, LA all the time for gigs and stuff, and I've definitely noticed that there's an amazing and fast growing both electronic, industrial, and gothic scene all in Southern California, which is really cool to see.
Absolutely. No, it definitely dwarfs the scene here in Chicago, and it's quite sizable already as is. So I can only imagine how awesome the shows can get out there.
Yeah.
If any of you can ever attend it, there's a really cool thing down here called Oddities Flea Market. It's originally from New York, so you have it up that way too, but they brought it down here. And the vocalist from, I'm not sure if you've heard of the band, they're an industrial metal band called, oh man, Brendan, what was it? Oregon band from Portland?
Dead Animal Assembly Plant.
Oh, that's what it was. I knew it was something with manufacturing and animals. But I think any of you could easily fill that spot. Same sort of vibe. Like your music would be perfect to play something like that.
Absolutely. That's the goal, right? Basically want it to look like a scene straight out of the Matrix, you know?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Apparently they have it so set up that like, you know, if you're in like normie clothes, they're like, no, go back and figure this out.
No, that's Wasteland Weekend you're thinking of. You told us about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you guys heard of Wasteland Weekend?
Yeah. It's where people go out to the desert to live like Mad Max style, right?
Yeah. It's a big it's an industrial metal music festival essentially, but it goes for multiple days, and everyone's in like Mad Max gear, and apparently you can form tribes of people and complete challenges to get free alcohol and substances.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yep. And then people like soup up their cars like Mad Max and build giant mechanical flaming things, and yeah, apparently it's wild. Really seems cool.
It's like, you know, the darker Burning Man, you know.
Yeah.
You had me at free alcohol.
Sorry.
Sorry, Brendan. I interrupted your question to carry on.
No, you're good. You're good. I guess that you know, all kinds of ties into like, you know, favorite cities that you guys like been to before, you know, or want to go to.
Well, again, we said like LA would be ideal. We've all been to several cities. That varies, but you know, we haven't played New York City yet, and I don't know what the scene is like out there right now. But
people definitely like heavy music in that area. You know, I live near Hartford, so there's definitely people will definitely show up. That's for sure.
Well, the weird thing about Witch House, it's people. We should be surprised that there's even a scene, right? Most people just let it live on the internet, whether it's just through, you know, memes, Tumblr back in the day, or Spotify playlists, or even now in VR. It's generally not something that is done live. So it's kind of interesting when there are these, you know, small enclaves of folks that are interested in it. So, but we are likely playing in the Denver region sometime soon. So definitely that's an area we're looking forward to. So again, keep posted on that. Follow us on our socials, Blvsphemy Records.
Do you see it ever being something where you could tour internationally, or is that like out of reach at this point?
We've done a micro tour actually here in the Midwest. It was interesting. It was just prior to the pandemic. It was quite the experience. We played a few cities here, like I said, in the Midwest. Definitely, most people that came out are, you know, just extensions of other scenes that already exist, from the metal scene, industrial scene, etc. So it's not like it's its own, you know, set of folks that do that. They're just people who kind of are adjacent to the other scenes and come out. I don't know if it could be long-term sustainable, but it could be something that can be cultivated if there is enough drive and desire and time to do all of that.
Awesome. You ever like had a look in Europe to see if there's something there? Like, is there an existing scene over that way?
As a matter of fact, it is. Now, the European styles of Witch House are definitely different, but nevertheless really cool. But no, we see really awesome shows with you know, more accessible artists like Sidewalks and Skeletons, you know, doing really well shows across Europe, even in, I believe, Russia, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if that's even something they can still do, but yeah, they get out there.
That's awesome.
Yep. So depending on anything to go, perhaps we can follow suit.
Yeah.
Maybe they can come
Yeah,
over here
out there.
and support you guys touring over this side as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, make it out to the East Coast. I'll make a point to get out. I'll do it.
Awesome.
I'm
So,
just
yeah.
one person though.
And if you do make it to LA, let me know. I will be up there.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Or just we can make it happen, right? We can just do a little ritual and sell our souls and be on our merry way to make millions of witch house dollars.
Oh man, what are those worth today?
Oh man.
Back to you, Brandon.
Yeah. What was like the how did I guess all of you can chime in, I guess. But who got you into like, you know, producing and starting like that whole side of music? Like who inspired you for that?
I can remember mine was kind of a more mainstream artist. When I was in my late teens, I was a guitar player primarily, and then I saw a Nine Inch Nails performance, and I was like really blown away by it. So I went and bought myself a drum machine and learned how to create electronic music. So that's how I got my start.
Nice.
Yep.
Both my parents are musicians, so I was kind of born into a musical family. But it was all church music for a really long time. And then it took me forever. I'm still catching up on like non-church music for the rest of my life. So I've kind of found things late.
Okay.
But it really when someone introduced me to, so I've played piano, I've, you know, written songs forever, but I never knew that synthesizers existed, which sounds really stupid, but there's a lot of things I didn't know existed. And as soon as I started learning to produce electronically, that was like such a game changer. Like I don't have to be in a band. I can make whatever I want and no one can tell me no.
Right.
So that was actually my boyfriend, who is from Sweden, was living in Canada at the time, introduced me to electronic producing. And
now you're on a Christian label.
and that was literally less than 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, it was like 2020-ish. So not very long ago. It's been crazy.
Well, speaking of Christian labels, I actually got started by having a dream that Jesus Christ himself gave me an electric guitar when I was 12 years old. And he said, if you don't learn how to play this within a year, you're going to die. So I learned that motherfucker really fast. And I'm here. I'm here.
That's what's up.
Oh man.
Great.
Huh? Oh. I was gonna say, for me, I mean, getting into producing, like I was playing in a bunch of bands, doing vocals and playing bass in a bunch of bands, and like really was getting nowhere with like my creative side. So I stumbled across, this is like back in the day with Last FM, I stumbled across Crystal Castles on a 8-bit playlist, and then bootlegged Fruity Loops or FL Studio, whatever it was called back then, and just went from there off and on for years until I decided to start CULTCHILD like 3 years ago now. So
all right, nice.
For me, what really got me into it was hearing Crystal Castles, and that, like, hearing that, I was just like, well, this is completely different, because I wasn't into electronic music at the time. And I kind of realized, hey, this is a duo. You don't have to get a band together to do all this metal and everything. And with my bands and everything falling out and people not being able to meet deadlines and being able to get to practice and stuff like that, I just kind of decided that, hey, this would probably be better if I took this and made this a solo thing. So that's really what kind of drove me listening to Crystal Castles, and then from there discovering like White Ring and realizing that, hey, electronic music can be just as heavy, if not heavier, than like death metal and such at times. So that was a major influence, and then I discovered a lot of like trash wave, like Sad Wrist and such. And
I think you guys are fucking making up the word trash wave every time you say it.
You can't even
a
find
thing,
the
man.
artists.
It's a thing.
Like if you look up Sad Wrist, you're not gonna
I
find.
just fucking Googled trash wave, all right? And you're trying to fucking make it happen, dude.
Grimes is trash wave, I think.
Stop
too.
trying to make trash wave happen.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
it's happening. It's happening.
But what really intrigued me was, and what got me into it the most, was the aesthetic of the whole genre itself, and realizing that, hey, I can do this all myself and not have to rely on anyone else but me, and my efforts be a testament to all that. So that's really what drove me to do all that.
That and the fame, notoriety.
The riches.
Glory.
It's I always find it really funny when people say like, yeah, man, that death metal band or the black metal band sold out. I'm like, can you really sell out like when you're making no money? Like it's not,
Right.
no one got into extreme metal to get rich or famous.
Exactly. No, it's a labor of love. I'm glad to be surrounded by such a unique group of people who are clearly not going to make it to heaven.
I'm doing my
Speak
best.
for yourself, man.
Well, I mean, I
Quantum immortality.
I am technically saved still, so I might still go to heaven.
Bless
Saved
up.
up.
But I don't know about any of you guys. But
I mean, Jesus does speak to one of you, so
I got saved at a Skillet concert. That's not a joke.
I served enough years in a cult. They better take me in.
I also find it kind of interesting how many of you were influenced by Crystal Castles. That's kind of cool.
No, they're a really cool band. Absolutely.
Yeah. They're around they haven't been together for a long time, right? I think this how long ago did they split up? Like,
Oof.
They
Some
split
minute.
Split up in like what, 2015, something like that.
Yeah. Brendan, have you actually listened to those guys? I don't know if I'm not sure if you have checked them out.
I don't think I have.
All right, I'm gonna drop you some links tomorrow.
If you like Crystal Castles, you should check out this band Crimes with the 3 instead of an E.
Yes.
Those
Oh, yeah.
guys, that's where
Yes.
it's at.
Yeah.
That got me.
Same with like
Every
Johnson.
DJ set I throw Crimes up.
I'm gonna write that down right now.
I'm not gonna pretend I'm too cool. It was Salem. And I heard that. I was like, this is cool as hell, dude. It sounded like a bunch of different components that don't go together, but they went together so well. You have a trap beat. You have what is it, like a choir?
Chopped and screwed vocals.
Yeah, it's creepy as hell. I love it. I remember I was so excited about this track and this genre as a whole, and I showed it to my buddy, and he was like, "No," and he's wrong. And I stand firm in my decision.
Have you I love like weird genre blending electronic stuff with a lot of strange samples. Have you ever heard of a band from Kenya called Duma?
No.
I feel like I've heard the name, but I've never heard the band.
It's Duma. It's awesome. It's
Oh,
grindcore
yeah.
it's grindcore mixed with like power electronic stuff, but then they've got like a ton of old ethnographic samples from like field recordings and stuff mixed in, and then a whole lot of African tribal instruments.
Do they have the like really cool African time signatures too?
Yes.
But some of the shit they do is straight up math rock.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got
it's
check
awesome.
them out.
Hear that?
They're on a label called Nyege and Nyege tapes, which has a lot of really like cool experimental East African stuff, a lot of electronic stuff in there.
Cool.
Definitely check those out.
Oh yeah.
But do they hate God?
I'm not sure from the lyrics. Can ask them.
That's usually what I ask myself. I'm listening to something like, do they hate God? You know, like, and if the answer is yes, it has a good chance that I'll listen to it. There we go. Blvsphemy Records. I digress.
I mean, there's one dude you never have to ask that question for is Glenn Benton. Guy hates God so much that he made multiple bands to express it. One wasn't enough.
He burned the inverted cross onto his forehead. That's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
He has some feelings.
He has some feelings. Oh man.
Just trying to work through some stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, we all are. We all are.
I always wonder if he like regrets that in old age, or if he still looks in every day and is like, "Nah, I did the right thing."
He's gonna double down. He's like, I need a second one.
Go hard or go home.
Exactly. Oh man.
Brendan, you got anyone anything else you want to ask?
Well, we talked a little bit about it. I think Häxa, you said that you'd like started playing piano, but what were all your first organic instruments?
Well, technically, tambourine.
All right.
I was a vocalist first, and then I picked up bass. But yeah,
Did you take lessons for that? Vocal lessons?
No, I just started screaming.
Nice.
God bless me with the gift of music, where I started off with drums, and then quickly guitar and a bass, and then I broke up with God and figured out how to play synthesizer.
For me, I played the trumpet, believe it or not. And on top of that, I played guitar for about 5-6 years, and then I broke my hands and haven't really played them since. So that's just kind of
brutal.
Does 1 year fourth grade trumpet count? Because if it does, I also played trumpet first, I guess.
There you go.
No, that was a recorder, honey.
No, that was third grade.
Hot cross buns.
Flashbacks.
Why does that, like, why do they do that? Like, everybody knows like what a recorder is and how to do that. Like, it's so funny.
Because music is actually math.
True.
It is.
It develops your cognitive abilities.
All right.
Well, there you go.
I keep that thing on me.
Just start busting out some recorder in the park.
That's what's up.
I started as choir boy, but then I had that dream with Jesus, gave me a guitar, and been playing guitar for like about 20 years now. Kind of hate it, so got into electronic music. Boom,
Nice.
I've tried to learn guitar a couple times. I just don't have the patience to learn any more new instruments. I'd rather spend my time actually making music than learning an instrument.
Exactly.
Yeah. I fucking suck at piano, but I compose all my tracks on keyboard. So yeah.
Well, if you have at least one instrument, that does help. Like, and keyboard is extremely useful if you're a producer.
Yeah. Well, what were like DJs and people and such that like you grew up with?
Interesting.
Listening to
DJs.
Listening to?
Well,
yeah.
DJs and producers, etc. The interesting thing for me is I didn't grow up listening to that electronic stuff. I actually used to like not like it. I was only into extreme metal until like the age of 18. But I was exposed to industrial music much when I was much younger, and I guess that taste came back in my early 20s, and which eventually led me down this path. But I don't know about any of you all.
I mean, I didn't before getting into like hardcore and then later into electronic music. Like, I was growing up on hip hop and R&B, and I lived in Jersey, so I was listening to Funk Master Flex all the time. And then then went off from there. So
I like anything that's off of that Night at the Roxbury soundtrack.
That's fucking good.
Kind of the same boat as Joel there. I kind of didn't like electronic music and everything at first. It wasn't really until I started acknowledging it as something that could be on equal terms with other genres that I really started appreciating it. But I didn't really listen to too many DJs or producers growing up, unfortunately. I wish I could turn back the time a little bit and do that, but it's what it is.
Yeah.
Chicago's got some history with house music, but it's funny because it actually has now history with witch house music. So it's like, hey, something's going on over here, Something's in the water, I think.
Yeah.
When y'all turn
all these like happy vibes got dark. Have you guys ever had any like wild like problems, like you're during your set and then like piece of equipment's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yo, Yeah. Can I talk about my first show in Phoenix?
Sure.
Sure.
I was using equipment I wasn't familiar with. It was a DJ set, but I was also playing like a CULTCHILD set in the middle of it too. But like everything was going fine, and then like I'm moving over to grab something, or not grab, so move something on my laptop, and I hit my USB cord. It doesn't pop out, but just move just enough to shut all the music off. And so the lights are still going, club just goes silent, and everyone just stares at me. And I fiddle around and get it back going, and went off from there. It was a great night, but except for that.
It probably felt like 5 minutes, and it was like 10 seconds. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's God.
So I'm gonna go turn back the clock, and Saint, you'll remember this. There was a point where we had a residency here in Chicago. So in addition to live shows, we'd have our DJ nights. One of our DJ nights happened to involve the Satanic Temple, right? And I forgot to give the venue owner a heads up. And the manager on site was freaking out because there's all these dudes in robes and shit. And also they bring a pig with them, right? and
shout out Clarence Wiggum. His name is Clarence Wiggum. He's a good guy.
Yeah, that pig's name is Clarence Wiggum. That's correct. He's freaking awesome. But yeah, and so halfway through the night, I get a call from the manager. And he's like, "What the fuck is going on down there? I hear that you have a pig that you're gonna sacrifice to the Satanic Temple." I'm like, "Whoa, that's not all true." I mean,
it was someone's emotional support pig, actually, and he was chilling the whole night.
It's chilling the whole night. Like the worst that really happened that night is that he kind of bit my hand because he wanted my beer and shit. But outside of that, it was pretty legit. So yeah, that's one thing. I mean, and then the common complaint that we would always get is that we were using way too much fog, and like we totally were, but fuck it, right? What are you gonna do?
What's the cutoff point between an appropriate amount of fog and too much fog, though?
When the bartending staff can't do their job, that's too much. and we've done that, unfortunately. Yeah, we overshot the fogger.
Well, I mean, if you don't know how much is too much, you're not going to know until you do too much.
Exactly.
True.
But
That's funny.
Again, just off the record, we have no intention on slowing our fogging down when we do live gigs. Hopefully no venue owners are listening right now.
We heard the podcast. We're not booking you.
We're not booking. Too much
fog.
Oh man.
Helps the sound carry, you know.
I got a question for you guys. What are each of you listening to at the moment? Like, what's standing out these days to you?
Ooh, question.
For me, I've been back to my roots. I've been listening to a lot of death metal lately. I've been trying to incorporate that into my music. So that's been me. I've been listening to a lot of powwow lately too, which was, they kind of make a lot of nods to the classic style Witch House too. They use a lot of samples and such, and they use them in kind of weird, repetitious ways. And it's like, okay, this is going to get stuck in my head for, at least 2 or 3 days. But I'm just kind of leaning back into my roots more than anything lately, kind of listening to stuff that I used to listen to back in like 7th grade, like Point Below Zero, Also Perish, stuff like that. And then going and listening to some of the stuff that I listened to when I first discovered Witch House and such.
Yep. As far as Witch House artists, I think what I've been listening to is just what everyone on the label has been, previewing with me. That's going to be likely released in the next couple of months. But outside of that, I think I have to agree with Systematic Doses. They're kind of going back to some of my roots lately. Heavy rotation with Velvet Acid Christ. If you not listen to them, they're a really awesome industrial band.
Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate to sound like echo chamber, but I've also been listening to a lot of stuff from when I was younger too. Going back to a lot of hardcore bands. The Banner, one of my favorite bands actually. But in Witch House, I've been jamming my boys' latest album, Gloomstone just dropped. Yeah, that shit's fucking hard. So go check that out.
Been listening to the Spiderman soundtrack a lot. Spider-Man 2.
That shit's good. That
It
really
good.
is. That shit's good.
Wait,
that's a good choice.
Like Tobey Maguire? Or like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Toby.
Yeah, the Toby ones, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
The only ones that matter, baby.
The only ones that matter.
Spider-Man purist.
Pixel Grip. I've been listening to a lot of Pixel Grip lately. It's good shit.
What type of music is that?
Don't be quiet.
That's your demon. House demon.
He has opinions.
He was like, no, I was Taylor Swift. Come on.
Yeah.
Tell him the truth.
Yeah, you're lying.
I thought he was telling you the genre.
Oh. Cool. Well, we're coming up on the hour pretty soon. So we have Brendan, you got any more left there?
No, we're good to go.
Cool. So I have two questions for you. First one, I'll be quick with this one because it's you guys that I want to speak to. You said that you have a bunch of shows coming up in the near future. Do you want to tell us what we can look forward to?
Yeah, we have several shows. Actually, this week we're going to have Morgue Witch and Plagues, who are on the label. They're going to be playing here in Chicago. Let me actually get you that information. It's going to be this Friday. And it's going to be with Zombie Apocalypse. That's going to be at this place, 2554 West Diversity. Week after that, it's going to be myself, Saint, and a couple of other artists that include Surveillance and Plasmata. That's going to be at the Burlington, also in Chicago. That's going to be a Thursday night. It's going to be a really awesome gig. Looking forward to it. Outside of that, again, things are kind of in the works, and more information will be announced as far as live shows.
Awesome.
Expect fog.
Gonna get fogged out.
Yeah.
Okay, so this question, sorry if I put you guys on the spot. I ask everyone that comes on the show this question, but if you were if you're free to answer in whatever order you like, if you were trapped on a desert island and you had nothing but a solar-powered Discman and 3 CDs to listen to on repeat until you got rescued, what would you want them to be?
Ooh, I got this one.
Oh man,
Someone else wants to go first.
Oh man.
Damn, that's a tough one. If I had to pick any 3 CDs, it would probably be The Royalty into Exile by All Shall Perish. That CD, I believe that's what it is. I probably had to pick White Light by Sidewalks and Skeletons just because it's nice, it's chill. I like it. And I'd probably have to pick Toxicity. No, which one is High? I can't remember that album. It has Toxicity on it by System of a Down.
It's Toxicity. That's
Toxicity.
Oh, it is Toxicity? Okay.
Title track.
I think it's on the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack.
That's definitely one of mine right there, right now, for sure.
I always loved the Crow soundtrack.
Hell
yeah.
That's a top-notch soundtrack. The soundtrack's meant something.
There is a soundtrack that would be my top 3, but it's Vangelis Blade Runner.
Oh, nice.
And then there's this electric harp dude that I've been listening to since I was a kid. I would have to have that because I already listened to it to fall asleep almost every day. And then Failure of Fantastic Planet.
Yeah, I would have Food by MF Doom.
Yeah.
Each Breath Haunted by The Banner. And this last one, like, it's okay. So it's a PlayStation 1 disc, but it plays in CD players. It's the game soundtrack for The Fifth Element. If you haven't listened to it, I think it's somewhere digital online. If I find it, I'll share the links. But that shit is fucking mind blowing.
That is a really good soundtrack.
Yeah.
See, sci-fi soundtracks are always the best.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True. Mm-hmm. Although Night at the Roxbury soundtrack That's definitely my top one of the three. Night at the Roxbury, Spider-Man 2, and I'm gonna give it to my guy Plagues, man. That last album Bolos he put out, perfection. Perfection. That's oh my god. Go listen to that. So good.
Damn right, yeah.
You heard it here first. Almost as good as the soundtrack.
And Night at the Roxbury.
And Night at the Roxbury. For me, these are some mopey ass albums, dude. Lycia, the album Ionia. It's some like experimental goth shit that I got into back in the day. Velvet Acid Christ, Twisted Thought Generator. That's a dope ass album. And Meshuggah's Destroy, Erase, Improve.
Nice.
You are the second person in a row to list that. We talked on a podcast in their top
yesterday.
3. Yeah, someone else did that yesterday. It's a great album.
Which one? Destroy, Erase, Improve?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I kind of feel like Meshuggah is kind of funny because they kind of invented. I mean, they didn't invent it, but they made Gent a thing.
Yeah.
And then regretted it forever.
Sadly, one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's like, what did we do?
Exactly. Yeah.
No!
We didn't mean to do this. We just wanted to make music.
It's like Frankenstein, like
the monster
getting upset about his creation. He's just like, it's alive, and he's just like, no, kill it.
Just like the genre killed itself. Like it just became a competition of who can get more overproduced and more mathematical to the point that it was like there was like no heart at all.
Or they're making guitars that were like 30 feet wide.
Yeah.
With like 900 strings.
Playing the brown note.
At some point, it all just sounded like AI music.
Yeah, it's the same issue I have with a lot of modern tech death. It's all like way too overproduced and doesn't even sound like music. It's just mathematical, just chugging. I don't know. I feel like I mean, we've talked about this a lot on our podcast that being a good musician does not mean being a good songwriter.
That's true.
Really true.
Or a good performer.
Yeah, definitely.
I can vouch for that
one. Yeah, there's some super technically proficient dudes that I can't listen to because they're so boring. It's like, I get it, you're really good at guitar, but can you write a song that I want to listen to? Like,
right.
So I have one more question for you guys before we wrap up. Are there any bands that you want to give shout outs to that we should check out from your local scenes? Like people we should hear?
Yeah, I'm gonna shout out. I got a list here, and some of us are present. Sain't, Satanic Hispanic, Rotten Wolf, CULTCHILD, Plagues, Systematic Doses, Gloomstone, Decomposition, Wraith Haven, Death Cult Devotion, Häxa, and Morgwitch. Shout out to all of them.
Nice.
So Death Cult Devotion was actually the first Witch House album I ever heard.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was what got me to explore the genre. So
he's an amazing producer. I love his stuff.
Please tell him I love his work.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really cool to actually have a whole group like this. We haven't done this before, so it's now that you guys tested it, we can maybe do this with other labels too. You guys are the guinea pigs.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah. Lastly, do you want to just repeat this again in case anyone missed it earlier on the podcast? But what are good places to buy your music, listen to your music, follow you on socials? Where should people do that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Blvsphemy Records, BLVSPHEMY Records. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. You can find us on Bandcamp. That's where you can support our music directly there. Your support goes directly to the artists. You can also find all of us on Spotify as well, all the other major streaming platforms.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, again, thank you guys for coming on. Everyone at home, make sure you check out the label, give them some love, check out all their socials. Great bands to follow, post some really cool stuff. Definitely vouch for that. And tune in next week. We'll have another guest for you.
Thank you, Brad.